Now, what I'd like to do is see if there are any burning questions for any of the panelists, or it wasn't exactly a panel, was it? Seated around with us. And if there are, we'll take them for a few minutes. And then we will go to our tabletop conversations. 3 questions are before you on orange sheets. And there are facilitators at each table, and I'll tell you more about that after we address any questions you might have for any of the particular panelists. So it's an open floor.
I have a question following up on the presentation from the Mandelas, and it has to do with the presentation and the representation of like Africans in the media. I've often had discussions with people where the conclusion is as long as the narrative is not controlled by Africans, it will continue to depict Africans in a not so pleasant light. And I just wanted to find out, like, what sort of measures or practices have they started to put in place in order to ensure that the global African narrative is something that is actually influenced by Africans rather than the story being told by other people?
It's a great question. Can we get Chad a mic?
Thanks. Yeah, that's a really important question, and was also a really important theme of their talks. I mean, one of the things that struck me in having the opportunity to interact with Kwaku and Ndaba and learn more about Africa Rising was their use of technology and how media savvy they were. I mentioned the film that they had produced in partnership with the Tribeca Film Festival, but also using a number of different kind of technologically savvy ways to address this very question that you're bringing up, just how Africa is presented to the outside world, to really emphasize the need to promote images of Africa and African peoples that certainly dispelled long-standing stereotypes, but most importantly, kind of promoted a vision of a modern Africa. One of the things that I think Ndaba said in his remarks is that there are cities in Africa. There are skyscrapers. There are freeways. I mean, we're talking about a diverse continent that has developed in truly remarkable ways that isn't just kind of trapped in this colonial past. So this really spoke to kind of the interplay between history and how we think about Africa today. But at the same time, there was this tension in their remarks between recognizing the diversity of Africa and the various contributions that different African peoples, African countries have made in their own regards, but at the same time promoting we might say, kind of unified, almost kind of Pan-Africanist idea of Africa, which was something that I found very interesting, how they were kind of carrying the banner, so to speak, of earlier conversations about the meaning of African independence, really going back to the 1950s and 60s, what it meant to talk about a unified Africa, to construct an African identity, and taking that into the 21st century. Yeah, that was a really important part of their comments, and something that I think they really forced us to grapple with.
Thank you, Chad.
Hi, thank you for all the presentations. They were wonderful. My question is about the, I don't know your name, but Larry Bales. You were emphasizing the need to have more activation, motivation, and acceleration as part of DEIS Impact. Do you have any ideas about how DEIS Impact might achieve that, like specific parts of it that we might be able to build on?
No. I mean, I do believe being a faculty member, we need to know more about what's going on now. I've kind of asked how many, often people say, how many people have attended, and it's not a majority. There's a hypothesis that I have that, maybe there's a small number of people going to many events. Not bad, not good, but it's worth looking into. I have no quick answer. I think it's worth thought, and I'd be glad to help people think about it.
Well, and indeed, that's what you're about to do, because one of the 3 questions on your table has to do with moving forward. And thank goodness we've had the opportunity to look back. But how can we engage more faculty, for example? This year there was a specific outreach effort for staff, and of course the students have been wonderful, and also to faculty, but there's so many demands on one's time that it's hard to get full engagement. What can we do? I think that's question number 3 on the table.